Dr. Duran held professorships at prestigious universities in Istanbul, Turkey. He authored best-selling books. He was also a highly celebrated astronomer and psychologist. He was last heard from in a dungeon in Iconium. What happened to him? Hear his story and learn how he read his way into the Adventist faith. This and much more on today's Global Mission Snapshots.
Just before he went up to heaven, Jesus gave us a command. He gave us a mission. Jesus said, "Go. Go unto all the world, telling them of His love." This is our mission. This is our global mission.
Hello, I'm Gary Krause and welcome to Global Mission Snapshots. On today's program, we travel to the country of India, where many Adventist students face a major challenge to their faith. They're required to take exams on the Sabbath day. We'll also visit with Gina Wahlen, editor of our Mission Quarterlies. Gina recently visited the Euro-Asia region and she brings back some exciting stories of faith. We'll also hear the amazing story of Dr. Diran, a man of exceptional spirituality. But let's begin in West Papua, Indonesia, where nutmeg, an exotic fruit, is used to welcome visitors to the village.
In the jungles of West Papua, Indonesia, villagers harvest nutmeg to be shipped all over the world. People in many countries love this unique flavor in their meals. To this village, nutmeg is used to welcome visitors into their community. To prepare this special greeting, someone must climb into a tree and pick the fruit. Each fruit has a flower inside. Once collected, the nutmeg is spread out to dry. The dried pieces are strung together to make a welcome necklace. Diran Boyd is a missionary from the United States who has lived in Indonesia for a few years now. He has visited this village before, and the people welcome him again with a special nutmeg greeting.
I'm interested in people's needs because that was Christ's method. Christ's method alone will bring true success in winning the hearts.
Diran is spreading the gospel by building relationships with people. He has been visiting this village to see what needs this village may have and how these needs can be met. He looks to Jesus as the perfect example.
And that is, he met their need, and then after he had met that need, he gained their confidence. Then he said, "Come follow me."
Kami sangat rindu jalan masuk ke sana.
Over time, Diran has come to know the village chief, David. David learned about the Adventist message through studying the Bible. He used to worship another day of the week until he learned about the Sabbath. He began faithfully observing the Sabbath and tells everyone in his village about Jesus. If anyone is interested in learning more, David will visit their home to teach them from the Bible. Although he is an important figure in the village, David puts his status aside to direct people toward Jesus.
Those who accept and believe that this is true come together. We must proclaim the law of God.
Now, many people in David's village are Seventh-day Adventist. They meet in a church member's home for worship. Diran visits David's village every once in a while to see how this congregation is doing. Membership is growing, and soon they will need a bigger building to meet in. This is just one of the many villages Diran works in. He teaches, trains, and preaches throughout the many islands of West Papua. The rough terrain, world religions, and number of languages make the mission challenges apparent in this region of the world. Through sacrifice and prayer, new congregations may be started in these challenging areas. Please pray for people like Diran who are on the front lines of mission. These workers often serve far from home and sometimes in challenging conditions. Pray for growing congregations, like the one in David's village, and pray that those who have never heard the name of Jesus before will come to know him soon. Thank you for supporting the mission of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Benjamin Baker to our program. Dr. Baker is a historian who works in the Office of Archives and Statistics at the Adventist World Headquarters here in Silver Spring, Maryland. Dr. Baker, thank you for joining us. You have a fascinating story for us today of it's actually an exotic story going back to the days of Constantinople, etc. Please share it with our viewers.
Sure. Duran was born in Armenia in 1870. As did many Armenians of his day, he immigrated to Constantinople, the capital of the Ottoman Empire and today's Istanbul. A lover of knowledge and seeker after truth, in his teenage years, Trakian became a mystic, embracing atheistic humanism. He published several volumes of poetry that were bestsellers and obtained a professorship at the Armenian University of Constantinople. It was in the fall of 1914, while in his immense library smoking a cigar, that Trakian was visited by a Greek Adventist literature evangelist named Nicholas Tephronides. For every book Tephronides handed to Trakian, the professor pulled the same volume from his library shelf. He explained that earlier, a colleague at the university had given these religious books to him. Tephronides, in turn, asked Trakian why he was smoking if he had read about the Adventist message. Embarrassed, Trakian put out his cigar and never smoked again after that day. But the colporteur's visit piqued Duran's interest in the Adventist literature in his library, and he perused it over the next couple of days. The ideas he read in the pages were so compelling that he decided to attend an Adventist church service. And so on that Saturday, the 44-year-old philosopher entered the 12 by 20-foot room in a building where the Adventists were worshiping. The minister that day was a Swiss man named Emil Frottiger, who spoke in English while a tiny teenager named Diamondola translated. As Duran looked around the congregation, he felt a sense of awe. Here were Armenians, Greeks, Germans, Jews, and Turks, naturally bitter enemies, worshiping together like a loving family. But what impressed Duran most was the beauty and symmetry of the truth presented that morning. He returned week after week until he had fully accepted the Adventist message. When Duran became an Adventist, his family disowned him, and he was divested of his tenured position at the university. The years that followed were very difficult for Trakian. In late 1914, he was drafted into the army just as Turkey entered World War I. There he was persecuted for his strange beliefs. No sooner was he discharged than he was imprisoned for spreading subversive teachings against the government. But in his many court hearings and weeks in jail, his fervent spirituality and eloquent witness won many to the faith. At the war's end in November 1918, Trakian established a church in Constantinople. The next 3 years he labored for Adventism in areas where the Apostle Paul worked, winning dozens of souls throughout Asia Minor. Known as a man of exceptional spirituality, Trakian often spent nights in prayer and was said to be surrounded by a holy atmosphere. Witnesses attest that on one occasion, he resurrected the missionary Diamondola from the dead. In early 1921, Trakian was imprisoned and condemned for preaching a new religion and forming a new church. Sentenced to exile on what is known today as the Death March or the Armenian Genocide, Trakian's last words were, "Love each other and have faith in God."
Thank you so much, Dr. Baker. What an amazing story. How did you discover this story?
Once again, reading the old periodicals, going through our boxes and in our vault, in our archive, and his story was so compelling because he gave up everything for the truth, and then he dove into the message and the truth 100%, and he was just this powerful person. who was winning souls everywhere and almost like the apostles of old, doing amazing exploits and miracles. And his life was just so dramatic, just that short time.
Yeah.
He was Adventist, and he had a powerful impact.
But he lost his family, he lost his wife, he lost his job,
Oh, yeah.
he lost his prestige.
Oh, yeah. He lost
but
everything.
But he found his Savior.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Baker.
Thank you for
Appreciate it
having
very
me.
much.
Yes.
Viewers at home, as we mentioned, Dr. Baker works for the Office of Archive Statistics and Research, and you can actually go to their website at adventistarchives.org, and you yourself can do a little bit of fishing around in some of the old periodicals and see what you might find of interest. Next up, we travel from Istanbul, Turkey, and we will go for a short break, but we'll be right back. Welcome back to Global Mission Snapshots. Next up, we're traveling to the former Soviet Union, and more specifically to the country of Ukraine. And to tell us about this is Gina Wahlen. Gina, thanks so much for joining us. You are the editor of these publications, the Mission magazines, and in Sabbath schools around the world, in Adventist Sabbath schools, these stories are told every Sabbath, so our focus is kept on mission. Gina, that's a big responsibility to know that your stories are being read around the world.
Well, you know, it's really a privilege, Gary.
Yeah.
I love going around the world, seeing mission in action, seeing God move in people's lives, and that's what these stories are really all about.
And why is mission so important to you?
Well, you know, I have a heart for mission for many reasons. I love Jesus, as we all do, and we want to serve him. And one of the places I have been is Russia and Ukraine, the former Soviet Union countries. My family and I served there for 6 years.
Now, you were at an Adventist seminary.
Right, 75 miles south of Moscow. It's called Zogski. And we had students there from all around the former Soviet Union, and those were the early years, just after communism fell, and our students came from all across the former USSR. We trained them, and now those students are now leaders in that area.
Now, that was quite a story of how that seminary, Zayovsky, actually got started. That was kind of a miracle story, wasn't it?
It really was. In fact, there's a book about it called God's Soviet Miracle, written by Mikhail Kulikov, Jr. And he was very instrumental in starting that seminary. It is the first Protestant seminary in the whole history of Russia.
Wow.
Yes.
What an amazing thing.
Yes.
Okay, well, we're going next door to Ukraine. Tell me a story from there.
Okay, well, in Ukraine, in the far west, there's an old city called Lviv. Now, Lviv has gone back and forth because it's right on the border. For many years, it was part of Poland, and then Ukraine, and so it's one of these border countries where it's gone back and forth. Currently, it's in Ukraine. Beautiful place, beautiful old buildings, and they also have a very important university there. And this story is about Pavel and Andrei. They were best friends growing up, and so they went through elementary, high school together, and it came time to apply for university. And they both wanted to go to this university in Lviv. They traveled there together, they took the exam, and after the exam, they were walking around campus, and as they were walking, they noticed this big poster with a large military jet on it advertising an air show, a military air show celebrating the 40th anniversary of this particular area of the Ukrainian Air Force. And they said, let's go, it looks great. They were excited about it. They were looking on the poster for the details. And all of a sudden, Pavel became very quiet. Andrei's thinking, what's the problem here? You know, I thought we were going to go. And Pavel says, well, you know what? I'm not going to go to this air show. I'm going to go to church. And you want to come with me? Andrei's looking at his friend. What's the deal here? You want to go to church? You don't want to go to the air show? I thought you liked airplanes. And Andrei says, well, actually, Pavel, he says, it's on Saturday, and that's the Sabbath, and I'm going to go to church why don't you come with me? And Andre could see, you know, he's really serious. Maybe I should check it out. Why would he choose to go to church over this air show? So I'm going to go. So the two friends went together and had a wonderful time. The people were friendly. They had a meal afterwards. They spent the afternoon there, and it was a really great day. Now, that evening, they heard about what happened at the air show. During the air show, at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, right at the height of it, when they would have been there for sure, there was a horrific accident. In fact, the worst accident in air show history.
Is that right?
Yes, a military jet was coming out of a maneuver, and as it was coming down, somehow the pilot lost control and he crashed right into the crowd of spectators.
Oh, wow.
Hundreds of people were killed, many more were injured, and Pavel and Andre, they would have been killed because they would have been standing right where that plane crashed.
A good day to be at church, couldn't say.
Yes, yes, a very good day to be at church.
Wow, so that would have been a formative influence in their lives.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, we hear about people who learn about the Sabbath, and we know that sometimes it costs them something. It might cost them the job that they had. They might lose something. They might lose friendships. But in this case, instead of losing something, they actually gain something, their lives. And I think it's a good thing to remember that when we follow God's way, we will always gain. We will gain life.
So what happened to these two young men?
Well, they ended up going to the Adventist seminary in Bucha, which is near Kyiv, and they are studying to become Adventist pastors today.
Wow, and they have a tremendous story to tell.
They sure do.
Wow.
They sure do.
And this story is contained in the Mission magazine.
That's right.
And for anybody who may be watching who maybe doesn't go to an Adventist church, can they access these stories?
They certainly can. Just go to our website, adventistmission.org, go to resources, and you'll see both those magazines as well as DVDs that tell many of these stories too.
Fantastic. Gina, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
And if you'd like to find out more about mission, as Gina said, go to adventistmission.org. You'll find stories, pictures, videos, missionary blogs, all sorts of information about mission and how you can be involved. Next up, we travel from Ukraine to the country of India.
They get admission for colleges based on the result, and therefore it is very crucial, very determinant for their future life. One cannot think of not attempting their examination if they want to pursue their study further.
Dr. John is principal of Ko Tarakara Adventist School. Like many Seventh-day Adventist schools in India, Ko Tarakara is a mission school, with about half of the students coming from Adventist families. The school has been accredited through the Indian government as a higher secondary school. This accreditation comes with government-administered testing during the students' 10th year of study. Recently, this crucial test was given on Saturday. Dr. John made an appointment with the Minister of Education for his district and asked that an accommodation be made for his school so that his students could stay true to their faith and not take the exam during Sabbath hours.
He said, I'm also a Christian. I would write an exam on Sabbath, or I would do anything on Saturday. I said, let's not debate on that matter, because your faith is different, my faith is different. I wouldn't do that, and my students won't do that. And therefore, please make it possible for my children to write the exam, make some alternate arrangement.
The Minister of Education did not make an accommodation and told Dr. John to take his issue to the court.
Court passed an order in favor of us to protect their religious faith. The court ordered that exam may be conducted on the same day in the night, after 6 o'clock, in the night.
This court order caused a flood of media to descend on the school campus.
Newspaper and from the TV channel, everywhere people flooded in. And they asked me, what's this? The whole public, the entire public came to know about Sabbath. What is Sabbath and why they keep Sabbath. Now when I go to the government office, I say I'm from the Seventh-day Adventist school, I'm the principal of the Seventh-day Adventist school. Oh, you the exam on Sabbath keepers. Immediately they come, they know. Then when I start explaining, no need to explain, sir, we have read it in the paper.
But this is only a short-term victory. The court order will eventually expire. The long-term solution for Dr. John and the students at Kotarakara is for the school to be accredited by a different organization. Many other Seventh-day Adventist schools in India are affiliated with the Indian Council of Secondary Education. This accrediting body takes special care to administer tests to Adventist schools on Sunday. Currently, Kotarakara facilities will not pass inspection to become a member of the council. Member schools must have adequate classroom space for each student, and this school has far outgrown its current buildings. Because of your financial support of the World Budget and Mission offerings, a new classroom block will be constructed on the Kotarakara campus. The new building will bring 20 new classrooms and allow the school to be ready for the council's inspection. Thank you for your support of the mission of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. To find out more, please visit adventistmission.org.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's snapshots of mission from all around the world, from the dense jungles of West Papua to the dungeons of Armenia, from the vast territories of Eurasia to the huge population of India. People are finding hope and joy in the good news of Jesus Christ. If you've enjoyed the stories on today's program, I know that you'll enjoy the Mission 360 DVD, full of action-packed mission stories. It's our gift to you. So if you live in North America, just visit our website at Adventist Mission or call the toll-free number on your screen right now and ask for the Mission 360 DVD, and we'll be happy to send it to you for free. As we close our program, let's take time to reflect upon what God's calling you to do, what He's calling me to do. And let's watch the video, I Know You Are. Thanks so much for joining us on today's program. For Global Mission, I'm Gary Krause, and I hope you can join me next time right here on Global Mission Snapshots.
Я знаю, что ты есть в небесной вышине. Неважно, что я здесь, ты помнишь обо мне. Я жду и в этом смысл, с надеждою свой взгляд я устремляю ввысь. Пусть разное твердят, я верю, ты придешь, я не устану ждать, простишь все и поймешь, мне важно это знать, не верю я словам, я жду прихода дня, и ты расскажешь сам, любишь ты меня. Твердят, что не придешь, не будет перемен, что только ты берешь и не даешь взамен. Я вопреки судьбе всю ложь перетерплю и расскажу тебе, как я тебя люблю. Я верю, ты придешь, я не устану ждать, простишь все и поймешь, мне важно это знать. Не верю я словам, я жду прихода дня, и ты